August 29, Chicano Moratorium. Let's hear for the veteranos who were there. I know the Ayalas were there. Raise your hand. Right? Yeah. So, we're getting old. Some of us are dying, but we're still fighting. We're going to go down fucking fighting, right, Renato? Yeah, hell yeah. So the very first Chicano Moratorium, okay, here, a little bit of history, was December 20th, 1969, organized by the Brown Berets in East LA, Boyle Heights, because we found out, due to Dr. Ralph Guzman, that Chicanos had a high casualty rate in the war in Vietnam. We all know about that now, right? But back then, we were shocked and pissed off. Because a lot of the homies, I went to Roosevelt for 1 year, you're right, I went to Garfield, did both, right? Just like Juarez and Paso, okay, South LA, East LA, I had to do all of it. But we found out a lot of the homies, like at Roosevelt, the football team were recruited by the Marines in the buddy system. The quarterback, the center, Rocky, Andy, and Fish. When they came back from Vietnam, they survived, but they had shrapnel, they were traumatized. Rocky, who was a tall, husky, good-looking Chicano from the State Street Boys, right? He was a center. He fucking died of an overdose in the old garage, in the bathroom of an abandoned garage, right? Because he was traumatized from the war in Vietnam. He showed me his album, his Marine album, of all the atrocities he had committed and been involved in, right? So to us as young Chicanos in Nevada, we said, we gotta stop this war. We gotta do a Chicano moratorium. Moratorium means to stop, because they were having moratoriums all over the US. Let's have a Chicano moratorium, right? So we marched from Evergreen Park to Obregon Park, December 20, 1969, right? And Nixon and Hoover, hey, what are you Chicanos, man? Come on, you're all supposed to be patriotic. We had another big march in the rain. Remember, what was that? That was March of 1970, right? But August 29, 1970, 30,000 of you all marching down Whittier Boulevard. You were probably a little girl, right? Right? You were like a little chavalita. Your mom and dad were dragging you, right? I run into a lot of people. I was there. And we marched. It says, stop the war in Vietnam. But many of us also say, you know what? This is the U.S. imperialist war, and the Vietnamese people have a right to self-determination. If they want socialism, they want their own political power, let them have it. So we as Brown Berets became radicalized by Ho Chi Minh, General Giap. General Giap was the one that did the strategy to defeat the U.S. Army. And it was the Vietnamese people that defeated the U.S. imperialism in Vietnam. So we learned a lot about that poor working people united can defeat a monster. Right, let's hear it. All right, you like that? Sí se puede. And when we got here, when you all got here, I was in Mexico underground. I've been busted and harassed so many times. They're going to kill me. I had to leave the country, right? But I was in Mexico City when I saw August 29, a beautiful rally right here at Salazar Park. Back then it was called Laguna Park. Was brutally attacked by the LAPD and the sheriffs. And in conjunction with coordination of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, President Nixon did not want the Chicano anti-war movement to unite with the broader white anti-war movement, right? They wanted to destroy us, they wanted to attack us, so they created an incident to come into the park and brutalize, tear gas, beat up all kinds of folks. You've seen the videos, right? You can see Recam 29, you can see, we did a video 20 years ago. We've been marching, the Yalas for years. We marched on the 10th, the 20th, the 30th. Here we are, what is the 52nd, right? This is what we call our Chicano Liberation Day. Yeah, I know about Cinco de Mayo and all that, but chale, man, this is our day. Chicano Liberation Day for Chicanos in the U.S., right? Right, there you go, bro. This is our Chicano Liberation Day, and there's people all over the U.S. celebrating, not celebrating, but protesting the issues, whether it's police killings, like Hilda Solis talked about the families that we have here that have been killed by the sheriff, whether it's public education, whether it's immigrant rights, but of course the war issue, right? That the U.S. continues to be a warmonger. Don't believe all the bullshit lies about the U.S. and NATO. We are against any U.S. war, no matter where it is. The U.S. is the largest military might throughout the world, has bases all over the world. So we're saying no to U.S. wars, but also, you know, and I think Hilda forgot to mention it, but by the way, I was in Nicaragua in July. I was invited, and man, the people in Nicaragua, the young people love Daniel Ortega, and Luis was there too, right? Right? They have free health care, education, no drugs, no gangs, right? And they produce their own food. They're autonomous. They produce their own food that they can now export it. This is Nicaragua. And by the way, Nicaragua doesn't have a lot of mass folks leaving the country like El Salvador, like Mexico. So my message is we have to support Latin American governments, countries who are fighting against U.S. control or hegemony or imperialism, right? You down with that? Come on. I mean, come on, you're talking about it. Yeah, that's right, over here. And that's, you're talking not only Nicaragua, we're talking Cuba, who's had a 50-year boycott, sanctions against it, right? And also Venezuela. I was in Tijuana in July, and I met these Venezolanos, Nicaraguenses, Mexicanos, you know, and they were saying, you know what? The U.S. government has sanctions against the government of Venezuela. It's causing problems. You know, we need to stop these sanctions. But don't forget our querido Mexico, ¿verdad? Remember, Manuel López Obrador said, chale to Biden. He did not come to the U.S., what was that? I forgot what they call it. The Summit of the Americas. He said, chale, man, if you're not going to invite Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, then chale, Mexico's not going to go. So we also support the fight for democracy against corruption in Mexico, right? Morena, AMLO, right? We got to support the folks fighting for democracy in Mexico. So again, no U.S. wars. Support Latin America. And then you're going to hear about the struggle against police killings, the struggle against privatization, and the struggle against, you know, the migra. Man, I know I talked a lot, but I wanted to do it in Spanish. So what did I forget, Luis? Did I forget something? Okay, I want to put it on the record that Ruben Salazar interviewed the Brown Berets back in 1969. Any of you who can find the article in LA Times where he interviewed me and the other Brown Berets, I'll give you free lunch. Because nobody can find it online. No, really, I'm serious. He interviewed us, and he said we were young, working-class Chicano. We were angry, but fighting for our rights. Ruben was here August 29, covering the whole, the Chicano Moratorium, right? He was with KMEX. He was with the cameraman, Restrepo. And then after the attack by the sheriff, by the way, the young guys fought back, you know. Homies like this guy just fought back with their bare hands, right? And a lot of sheriffs went down that day. They were bleeding, right? And then we rebelled. I remember the Watts Rebellion. I was in the '92 Rodney King Rebellion downtown, tearing it up. And we were down there in the George Floyd Rebellion, right? Were you there? I saw you there. Anyway, so what happened is Ruben Salazar was covering the whole news, and he took refuge at the Silver Dollar Bar. Raise your hand, you know about that, you know, right? You're shaking your head, right? With Restrepo. And then the sheriff came up, and then they came out the door and said, we're with the media, here's our ID, we want to leave. No, get back in there, there's a man with a gun, right? A bullshit lie, provocateur about a man with a gun. He was shot, they shot, and the brother with the poetry, I love what he said, but it was not a tear gas canister. It was a missile projectile that's used to go through penetrated walls where there's supposedly someone barricaded. In other words, a missile, a flight right. If you look at the video, when the cop that killed him was interviewed in the inquest, it's a missile that's gone through the wall. But there was no wall. He went right through the window, blew his head open. He was targeted. Ruben Salazar told Chris Montes that he feared for his life, that he was being followed, that he was concerned that something may happen to him. He was targeted, he was assassinated. That's why Laguna Park is called what? Ruben Salazar. And there's a beautiful mural of him right over here. So I know I talked a lot, so again, this is our Chicano Liberation Day. We fight for self-determination. We have the Chicano flag. I remember 1,500 people attended the Chicano Youth Liberation Conference in Denver, Colorado. Anybody who was there? and where we declared ourselves a nation, a bronze people. We are Aztlan. We acknowledge and support the sovereignty, development rights of all native nations, right, in the Southwest. But we also acknowledge that us Chicanos are the working class of the Southwest. We're in the construction industry. I work in the copper industry, the ranchos, the agriculture, the mining, the light industry. We are the working class of the Southwest. We have a right to Chicano power. That's what's called self-determination, right? You down with me on that? We have the U.S. Declaration of Human Rights declares that oppressed people have the right to self-determination. And people say, "Ay, Carlos, why you say we were oppressed?" Well, Mike, look, Hilda just said we were dying, we were getting killed, we were incarcerated. You know, we're dying here in Boyle Heights of pollution, you know. We're oppressed as a people. We have the right to self-determination. That's why we popularize the slogan, Chicano Power. Nada más quería decir que aquí estamos para celebrar la moratoria chicana, que el 29 de agosto de 1970 fue una gran marcha contra la guerra en Vietnam, donde nosotros, la juventud, marchó para protestar el alto porcentaje de jóvenes muertos en la guerra en Vietnam. Para nosotros esa fue no solamente una injusticia, pero el racismo del sistema de Estados Unidos de reclutar a nuestros jóvenes de los barrios y mandarnos a morir en Vietnam. Y por eso el grupo Las Buenas Cafés, the Brown Berets, organizamos la primera moratoria, que fue el 20 de diciembre de 1969. Marchamos de Evergreen Park a Obregón Park. Y luego tuvimos la gran marcha el 29 de agosto de 1970. Más de 30,000 de ustedes marcharon por la calle Whittier Boulevard diciendo Chicano Power, no la guerra en Vietnam. Y muchos de nosotros aprendimos de que hay que apoyar la gente de Vietnam, aunque ellos querían socialismo, autodeterminación, es lo que ellos quieren, ellos ganaron, ellos derrotaron al imperio de Estados Unidos. Quiere decir que sí se puede derrotar al imperio de Estados Unidos, como lo han hecho en Afganistán, y lo van a hacer y lo han hecho en Cuba, y Nicaragua, y en Vietnam, obviamente, ¿verdad? Así es que por eso conmemoramos este día. Para nosotros como chicanos, sí conocemos el 5 de mayo, de septiembre, pero 29 de agosto es un evento de la moratoria chicana para chicanos aquí en Estados Unidos, ¿verdad? El 5 de mayo es una burla, no es pura cerveza, ¿verdad? Y nosotros celebramos la moratoria chicana, es el día de liberación para nuestra gente, donde demandamos autodeterminación, igualdad, pero también obviamente apoyamos, denunciamos las guerras de Estados Unidos en Europa, en cualquier otro país. Y estamos en apoyo a nuestro querido México, que sufre y lucha por democracia y contra la corrupción, que el Estados Unidos trata de derrotar al gobierno de Estados Unidos. Y apoyamos al gobierno de Venezuela, de Cuba y Nicaragua, porque Estados Unidos tiene sanciones y está boicoteando contra esos países. Así es que muchas gracias a ustedes que están aquí. I love seeing you all out here kicking it. We're going to have a great program. Sorry I went a little long, but we got thrown off by Hilda, you know, but it was good to have her here, right? Because she voted to take out the sheriff, you know. And let's hear it for the Brown Beret, the new generation. Aquí estamos y no nos vamos, right? Let's hear it. I like, y si nos echan, los chingamos. Come on, man. Chicana! Power! Chicana! Power! Chicana! Power! Chicana! Power! ¡Viva la revolución! ¡Viva! ¡Viva la raza! ¡Viva! El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.